Let me just go over some of the news that has happened since we last met, get you caught up on everything. Reuters is reporting that Trump's approval has slid from 44 from 47 because jobs and inflation are punching folks in the gut. Okay. Yes, unemployment has crept up to 4.2%. Grocery bills are like a bad ex that just won't go away, and people are jittery a bit. It's not a meltdown, but it is Trump able to catch some flack on this. Some are saying it's his tariffs. Others are saying, it's Congress that's all talk and no action. The air in D.C. is thick with tension. But here's the deal. America, Washington isn't, nor should it ever be, your sugar daddy. Trump's swinging at a system so fat that the system can't even move to get out of the way. Here's the real deal. We have trashed our economy for decades, and then we added a wrecking ball to the rest of it for the last 4 years. As I have said for all during the election, for sure, it is going to sting and hurt before it heals. Think 1970s gas lines, only with worse coffee. Help your neighbor whenever you can. Look for people who are in need that you can help. Stock your pantry, because if we want the feds off our backs, we've got to step up and not take any shortcuts. Washington Post is reporting Trump and Musk are selling the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, like it's the next moonshot, aiming to carve out hundreds of billions in waste and toss 20% rebates our way. Agencies today are sweating bullets. Details are sketchy, but it is a gut punch to the bloated beast in Washington. Is it bold? Yes. Is it what we asked for? Yes. This is the government getting a long overdue haircut, and Musk is holding the clippers. In fact, yesterday at CPAC, it wasn't clippers, it was a chainsaw given to him by the president of Argentina. They're not just trimming the fat, they're promising a chunk of our own money back as well. But here's the kicker. Do not cash that check and run. We are drowning in $36 trillion of debt. Stick it in there instead. I like Trump's latest idea. It helps kind of everybody. When we get $1 trillion in cuts, 20% goes back to you, 20% goes to the debt, and 20% to reduce the deficit. Yesterday, Trump demanded what's ordinary for you and me, but something that's almost as mythical as My Little Pony in Washington, D.C. He demanded a balanced budget. Whoa. It will be up to us to support and demand lawmakers here and adhere to what all of us have asked for decades, paying down the debt and cutting the deficit to zero. It's not real sexy, but it's a grown-up move. Less waste, more backbone. That's the win. In the Times, Zelensky begging for a BFF vibe with Trump's crew, but a ditched briefing and some U.S. side-eye say otherwise. His team met with Trump's envoy, then ghosted a presser after whining about hardball talks. Washington told them to drop the dictator trash talk. It's a little chilly. Not full on feud, but the cracks are showing. Trump is not here to play global babysitter. Those days are and should be over. Ukraine has its own mess. We don't need to mop it up. When will the media and the Lindsey Grahams of the world and the Democrats begin to care about where the $100 billion or more we shipped over there that just went poof, vanished like a Vegas magic act? Zelensky has said that maybe half of the U.S. money didn't arrive. Where is it? Also, we now know that the U.S. arms that we sent to Ukraine, some of them are vacationing on the Mexican border in the hands of the cartels. Nobody's asking, and that's the real scandal. America's wallet isn't a bottomless pit. It is time we close it. The Washington Post reporting America's Corruption Perception Index craters from 69 to 65, which makes us 28th worldwide. Now, America's Corruption Perceptions Index They say that's thanks to juicy scandals like Clarence Thomas and his secret billionaire getaways. Is that the real deal? Here's the actual story. And this is a truth that the Washington Post will never, ever cover. Transparency International. They're the ones who issued this report. They're the scorekeeper. It's interesting because a quick search now, you can find out they rake in 80 million euros from the U.S. state, the EU, and the WEF cronies just last year. X is screaming, deep state hit job. TI conveniently skips the Dobbs leak, the Trump legal gauntlet in D.C., Georgia, what was happening there, what happened in New York, and the January 6 pro-life setups. It's only about the conservatives on the court. Smells like the same rotting trash they began to shovel after J.D. Vance's speech last week in Europe. Transparency International is nothing more than deep state PR. They're bankrolled by the same clowns, the WEF, the State Department, along with all the other usual NGOs that DOGE is now are funding and financing with taxpayer dollars. All of those who loved a rigged game, the government-funded propaganda. Honestly, it would make Goebbels blush. Trump's courts are slugging it out. But Transparency, Transparency International? It's blind to the real dirt, the witch hunts and leaks galore. But this isn't about justice. It is a power grab dressed up as a report card. Europe and the global media need to understand that we are not stupid and we are not buying it. The time of lies is over. Thank God for AI, which at least now is proving its worth on giving us complete transparency. You're not going to be able to hide the money and your lies anymore. Reuters, Kash Patel in as FBI director, squeaking by 51-49. The GOP is pumping its fist for his reform swagger. Democrats cry, Trump goon. Collins and Murkowski bolted, but he's still locked in, promising to gut headquarters of the FBI, axe deep, and zero in on all the crime first that they were committing. 8 top dogs are already out the door at the FBI, and he's got a list, and he's checked it twice. All of the agents of January 6. X is a war zone today, half cheering, half melting down. The real meltdown will happen when Kash comes in next week and delivers the Epstein client list and begins to expose what Washington intel and media told Americans were just simply conspiracy theories. If I were Adam Schiff, I might begin to liquidate some of those stocks that you've done so well with, Adam. You might need a fleet of attorneys to keep you out of jail. You might want to have extra cash on hand. By the way, Patel is not going in to play nice. He's the wrecking ball the FBI has been begging for. The Swamp's built a fortress in that agency, and he's kicking down the front gates. 8 suits are gone already, and that's just the warm-up. This is not about loyalty oaths. It's about yanking power back from the shadows and placing justice where it belongs. The rats are scurrying. Good. Let them run. Their cheese hasn't just been moved. It was taken away. It's going to be very interesting to see how hungry and these terrified rats begin to eat one another. Justice Department has dropped bribery crackdown. Trump's POV raises questions, according to the news media. Reuters said that. Trump's DOJ, in the story, is hitting pause on the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, slicing overseas bribery probes by 30% from 2024's pace. The critics are yelling, open season. Trump's squad calls it an unshackling of business, fewer audits, lighter fines. Trump's side is saying that they view the Foreign Corruption Protection Act as a job killer, strangling U.S. firms while China cheats freely. By the way, did China ever pay a price at all for the bribery of our government officials all the way up to and including our former president? X at Real Scott Ritter smells cronyism. Fair point, but I think it's murky at best. Maybe it's growth first. Not global cop duty, but the optics are iffy on this one. I don't know exactly what the truth is on this one yet, but we'll find it. I do know this: when the feds ease off, it's usually a breather for the little guy. But again, without real time spent looking into the dark corners on all sides, this one still feels a little weird. Trump's all about fair fights, not buddy-buddy deals. But if this is a wink to his pals, it's a misstep for the president, and the first one. But I'm not sure. China is dirty. Sure, $14 billion in shady deals last year alone. But justice doesn't bend for convenience. Keep it straight, or we're no better off than we were, and we're no better than the other side. Let me pick it back up here with Economic Blackout Day. What the hell is that? Well, February 28th, according to the Times, shaping up for a wallet shut boycott because Americans are fed up, targeting retailers like Walmart for dumping DEI quotas after Trump's nudge. Really? Is that the way the people feel? Or is this all part of your tax dollars going to the Tides Foundation? Your tax dollars at work. Hashtag blackouts DEI blowing up on X. Folks say it's about choice, not a woke checklist. Look, I have no problem with companies choosing to go full DEI if that's what you want. It just means that every day will be voting day for America. We'll vote with our cash. Pure American muscle. Don't like DEI? Great. Stop going to Costco, which has now just doubled down on DEI, and any other country that is doubling down. Just like Bud Light, that's still losing over 40% market share and billions of dollars. If Americans are aware of who is sticking with the insanity and who is behind common sense and merit, the daily election will not even be close. Trump is peeling off the DEI duct tape, and people are done with forced nonsense. Walmart is not our morality cop. It's a frickin' store. Keep your dollars where your voice is. That's power. That's not preaching. AI now is fueling domestic crime surge, but is also fighting corruption from foreign policy. AI's turbocharging U.S. crime, trafficking, scams, you name it. Arrests are up 15%, but cops just can't keep up. Cartels are churning fake IDs, scammers spoofing banks, all on tech steroids. The flip side? X's AI watchdog says it's nailing DC crooks. $2 million in Hill kickbacks busted just in the last few days. Same tool, two wars. AI is a double-barreled shotgun. We need to understand that. Crooks are going to use it, and they're going to blast away. But it is also being used by good guys and popping DC's dirty laundry. Cartels moved $8 billion in fakes last year. Meanwhile, AI is catching congressmen with their sticky fingers. It's a race, bad guys versus the truth. We need it sharp, not sloppy, because the stakes are only climbing. Another ESG pushback, another WEF defeat from Reuters. Trump's SEC, his pick is gutting ESG rules. Boards can now dodge climate and social votes now. Green investors are crying. Resolutions are down 40% since 2024 per Bloomberg. Big players like Exxon that used to grovel at the knees of BlackRock, now they're bailing on as Trump's team is torching it. They're starting to do what's right for Exxon instead of right for the WEF. X tags it WEF Smackdown. Top-down control now is cracking. ESG was Davos shoving its boot on corporate throats, and Trump is yanking it off. Companies aren't here to bow to globalist scorecards. They're here to work. BlackRock's $10 trillion ESG empire, it's wobbling just a little bit, and good. Let the market breathe. This is us taking the wheel back. Europe's DEI reckoning, civil unrest is brewing now. Reuters says the EU is shredding DEI as Germany's economy shrinks to 0.5%. Workers are torching quotas. Protests are hitting the streets of Berlin and Paris. 10,000 marched last week against the EU and WEF. An identity wipeout is what they're saying. X's Europe Awakes says it's culture versus elite decrees. WEF's green and migrant pushes have people boiling all over the world. Politicians are deaf to this risk, and this risk is going to spread to a wildfire. Europe's WEF overlords have poked the bear too long. It's not about hate or racism. What's happening in Europe and all over the world is about our homes. Folks want their streets safe. They love their own country more than they hate anybody else's country. They love their culture and are tired of being told that Italy or England, Sweden, or wherever they live is not unique, or perhaps even worse, that you should be ashamed of what the Western world has produced and instead extol the Middle Eastern Muslim culture that is mostly known in our day for terror, death, starvation, and chaos. This week at a church in the Congo, 70 Christians were beheaded in their church, where Muslim terrorists said, as they did in the 12th century, convert or die. Sorry, but the West is superior to that nightmare. Islamic countries hundreds of years ago did give us algebra and the zero. But what have you done for us lately other than return children hostages back home in coffins? Enough is enough. We all want common sense back, not some bureaucratic's blueprint that for years they even denied was even a thing. Trump's proving you can push back and win. Over there, they're one spark away from a reckoning. Ignore that roll at your peril, EU.